Today I would like to invite you to listen to the Dhammapada of the Buddha Sakyamuni, the 179th verses from the Buddhist scriptures on the YouTube channel Thien Thai in the USA, whose conquest of passion is not turned into defeat. No conquered passion of his in this world follows him. That trackless Buddha of infinite range, by which way will you lead him? At the time when the Blessed One was residing at Jetavana Monastery, there arose a situation that gave occasion for this sacred verse. After the Buddha attained supreme enlightenment beneath the Bodhi tree, he completely destroyed greed, hatred, and delusion. The armies of Mara had been defeated. The fires of craving had been extinguished. The roots of suffering had been cut off forever. Yet Mara, the tempter, did not immediately abandon his efforts. He continued to seek an opportunity to influence the Blessed One, just as he had attempted before enlightenment. Mara searched carefully, hoping to discover some remaining trace of attachment, some hidden desire, some subtle weakness through which he could approach the Buddha. But no matter how diligently he searched, he could find none. The Buddha had become entirely liberated. His mind was immeasurable like the vast sky. His wisdom was boundless like the great ocean. His compassion embraced all beings without distinction. Mara could not discover any path leading to the Buddha because the Buddha no longer walked the pathways of craving that ordinary beings follow. The enlightened one had gone beyond all traces that defilements leave behind. Seeing Mara wandering in confusion and frustration, the Buddha declared this verse. The meaning is profound. One who has completely conquered all passions cannot be conquered again. One whose defilements have been uprooted leaves no track for Mara to follow. Just as birds fly through the open sky without leaving footprints, the Buddha moves through the world without attachment, without clinging, and without creating new bondage. Therefore, no one can lead, tempt, deceive, or capture such a liberated being. This story teaches us that true victory is not victory over others. True victory is victory over greed, anger, ignorance, pride, jealousy, and craving. Such a victory can never be overturned. Such a victory leads to perfect freedom. Dear friends in the Dharma, this verse invites us to contemplate the meaning of true conquest. In the ordinary world, people praise those who conquer nations, gain wealth, accumulate power, or achieve fame. History remembers kings who expanded their kingdoms. Society admires individuals who rise above others through intelligence, influence, or material success. Yet all these victories are uncertain. A king may lose his throne. A wealthy person may lose possessions. A famous individual may lose reputation. Whatever is gained through worldly conditions remains subject to change. What is celebrated today may disappear tomorrow. Therefore, the Buddha points us toward a different kind of conquest. He teaches us to look inward. The greatest battlefield is not outside ourselves. The greatest battlefield is within our own minds. Every day we encounter desires that pull us away from peace. Every day we encounter anger that disturbs our hearts. Every day we encounter ignorance that clouds our understanding. If we can gradually overcome these inner enemies, we achieve a victory far greater than any worldly accomplishment. Such victory cannot be stolen. Such victory cannot be destroyed by time. Such victory accompanies us wherever we go. When greed arises and we recognize it with mindfulness, we are already beginning the path of conquest. When anger appears and we choose patience instead of retaliation, we are already advancing toward freedom. When confusion arises and we seek wisdom instead of blindly following impulses, we are already walking in the footsteps of the noble ones. The Buddha's conquest was complete because every trace of defilement had been removed. Although we may not yet possess such perfect liberation, we can learn from his example. Each moment of mindfulness weakens the power of craving. Each act of kindness weakens the power of selfishness. Each moment of wisdom weakens the power of delusion. Gradually the mind becomes lighter. Gradually suffering decreases. Gradually peace increases. This is the noble conquest praised by the Buddha. It is available to every person regardless of age, status, education, nationality, or background. The path begins wherever we are. The path begins with a sincere willingness to understand ourselves and transform our hearts. The verse also speaks about the trackless nature of the Buddha. This image is extraordinarily beautiful and profound. Most beings leave tracks wherever they go. Our attachments leave tracks. Our fears leave tracks. Our desires leave tracks. Because of these tracks, we become predictable. We chase pleasant experiences. We avoid unpleasant experiences. We cling to praise. We fear blame. We seek gain. We resist loss. Mara understands these patterns and uses them to keep beings trapped in suffering. Yet the Buddha transcended all such patterns. He no longer acted from craving or aversion. He no longer clung to identity, possessions, opinions, or desires. Therefore, Mara could not follow him. There was no trace to pursue. Consider a lotus flower growing in muddy water. Although rooted in mud, it rises above the surface and remains unstained. In the same way, the Buddha lived in the world, yet remained untouched by worldly attachment. He experienced sights, sounds, smells, tastes, sensations, and thoughts, but his heart remained free. He did not cling to pleasant experiences. He did not resist unpleasant experiences. He understood the impermanent nature of all phenomena. Because of this understanding, his mind rested in perfect peace. For practitioners of the Dharma, this teaching encourages us to examine our own tracks. What attachments guide our actions? What fears influence our decisions? What habits keep us bound to suffering? When we observe carefully, we discover many invisible chains. Some people are chained by desire for wealth. Some are chained by desire for recognition. Some are chained by resentment. Some are chained by anxiety. Some are chained by rigid views and opinions. The Buddha invites us to become aware of these chains and gradually release them. Freedom does not appear suddenly. Freedom develops through continuous practice. Each moment of mindfulness reveals another attachment. Each moment of wisdom loosens another knot. As understanding deepens, the tracks become lighter. The burden becomes smaller. The heart becomes more spacious. Although complete liberation may seem distant, every step toward freedom brings immeasurable benefit. Even a small reduction in greed creates more generosity. Even a small reduction in anger creates more compassion. Even a small reduction in delusion creates more clarity. Thus, the path itself becomes a source of joy and peace. The Buddha's infinite range mentioned in this verse points to the boundless nature of awakened wisdom. Ordinary thinking is limited by self-centered concerns. We often evaluate situations according to personal gain and loss. We see the world through the narrow lens of individual preference. The Buddha saw beyond these limitations. His wisdom embraced the interconnected nature of all existence. He understood causes and conditions. He understood the arising and passing away of all phenomena. He understood suffering and the path leading beyond suffering. Because his wisdom was boundless, his compassion was also boundless. He did not teach for personal advantage. He taught solely for the welfare of beings. Day after day, he traveled from village to village, offering guidance to anyone willing to listen. Kings and peasants received the same compassion. Rich and poor received the same compassion. Wise and unwise received the same compassion. His heart made no distinction. This limitless compassion flowed naturally from limitless wisdom. When we study this verse, we should reflect upon the possibility of expanding our own hearts. We may not possess the infinite wisdom of a Buddha, but we can cultivate greater understanding. We can practice seeing beyond our narrow self-interest. We can learn to consider the well-being of others. We can develop patience, generosity, kindness, and forgiveness. As these qualities grow, our hearts become more spacious. The boundaries separating self and others become less rigid. Compassion begins to arise more naturally. We discover that genuine happiness does not come from selfish accumulation. Genuine happiness comes from inner freedom and loving concern for all beings. This realization transforms the way we live. It transforms the way we speak. It transforms the way we relate to family, friends, colleagues, and strangers. The Dharma ceases to be merely a philosophy and becomes a living reality expressed through daily actions. In this way, we honor the example of the Blessed One and move closer to the peace he realized. Beloved friends in the Dharma, when we continue to contemplate this sacred verse, we begin to understand that the Buddha's victory was not a victory achieved through force, struggle, or domination. It was a victory achieved through understanding. The world often teaches that strength comes from overcoming others. The Buddha teaches that true strength comes from overcoming oneself. A person may defeat many opponents and still remain a prisoner of greed. A person may gain influence over countless people and still remain a servant of anger. A person may possess great wealth and still be poor in wisdom. Therefore, the Blessed One directs our attention toward the inner life. He encourages us to examine the roots of our thoughts, words, and actions. Whenever greed arises, suffering follows. Whenever hatred arises, suffering follows. Whenever delusion arises, suffering follows. These three poisons have accompanied beings throughout countless lifetimes. They create conflict in families. They create conflict in communities. They create conflict among nations. Every war begins in the human mind. Every act of cruelty begins in the human mind. Every form of selfishness begins in the human mind. Because the Buddha completely removed these poisons, his peace became unshakable. Nothing could disturb the serenity of his heart. Praise could not inflate him. Criticism could not diminish him. Gain could not excite him. Loss could not discourage him. Honor could not tempt him. Dishonor could not wound him. His happiness did not depend upon changing conditions. His happiness arose from freedom itself. This is why his conquest could never become defeat. Once the roots of ignorance were destroyed, they could never grow again. Once craving was extinguished, it could never return. Once wisdom fully awakened, darkness could never reclaim the mind. As practitioners of the Dharma, we should remember that every effort toward purification has value. Even when progress seems slow, every moment of mindfulness plants wholesome seeds. Every act of compassion nourishes the heart. Every effort to understand suffering brings us closer to liberation. The path may require patience, but each step is precious. Just as a mighty river begins with small streams, great wisdom begins with small moments of awareness. Just as a magnificent tree grows from a tiny seed, liberation grows from daily practice. Therefore, we should not become discouraged when imperfections remain. Instead, we should continue cultivating goodness with faith, diligence, and determination. The Buddha himself showed that complete freedom is possible. His life stands as a beacon of hope for all beings wandering through the cycle of birth and death. Whenever we remember his example, our confidence in the path becomes stronger. Whenever we reflect upon his teachings, our hearts become more peaceful. Whenever we practice sincerely, we move closer to the freedom that he revealed to the world. The verse also encourages us to reflect upon the subtle nature of attachment. Many people believe attachment exists only in obvious forms such as desire for money, possessions, or pleasure. Yet attachment often hides beneath the surface in ways that are difficult to recognize. Sometimes we become attached to our opinions. We believe our views are absolutely correct and reject any perspective different from our own. Sometimes we become attached to our identity. We cling to labels and roles, believing they define who we are. Sometimes we become attached to expectations. We create mental images of how life should unfold and become disappointed when reality differs from our plans. Sometimes we become attached to memories of the past or dreams about the future, forgetting to live fully in the present moment. These attachments may seem harmless, yet they quietly create suffering. When circumstances change, attachment produces fear, frustration, and sorrow. The Buddha understood this deeply. He saw that all conditioned things are impermanent. Everything that arises will eventually pass away. Youth becomes old age. Health becomes illness. Possessions are eventually left behind. Relationships undergo change. Even thoughts and emotions appear and disappear like clouds moving across the sky. Because the Buddha understood impermanence completely, he no longer clung to anything. He appreciated life without possessing it. He cared for beings without attachment. He engaged with the world without becoming bound by it. This balance is one of the most beautiful aspects of the Dharma. The Buddha did not teach indifference. He taught freedom. He did not teach cold detachment. He taught compassionate understanding. We can love others deeply while recognizing the changing nature of existence. We can fulfill our responsibilities while remaining free from unhealthy clinging. We can enjoy life's blessings while understanding that they are temporary. This wisdom allows us to experience gratitude instead of grasping. It allows us to experience compassion instead of possessiveness. It allows us to experience peace instead of anxiety. The more clearly we see impermanence, the more gently we hold the experiences of life. We stop demanding that the world satisfy our endless desires. We stop expecting permanence from what is naturally changing. We begin accepting reality as it is. Through acceptance, the heart becomes calm. Through calmness, wisdom grows. Through wisdom, freedom becomes possible. This is the path illuminated by the Enlightened One. This is the path that gradually dissolves suffering and reveals inner peace. Another profound lesson contained within this verse is the importance of vigilance. The Buddha's victory was complete because he never stopped cultivating awareness. Before enlightenment, he faced many temptations and challenges. Mara presented fear. Mara presented desire. Mara presented doubt. Mara presented pride. Yet the future Buddha met every challenge with mindfulness and wisdom. He observed each arising condition without becoming trapped by it. This teaches us an important principle. Liberation does not occur through suppression. Liberation occurs through understanding. If we attempt to forcefully reject difficult emotions without understanding them, they often return with greater strength. But when we observe them carefully with mindfulness, their true nature becomes visible. We see that anger is impermanent. We see that fear is impermanent. We see that desire is impermanent. We see that every mental state arises due to causes and conditions and eventually passes away. This understanding weakens their power over us. Gradually, we become less reactive. We become more patient. We become more balanced. A person who practices mindfulness learns to pause before speaking harsh words. A person who practices mindfulness learns to pause before acting impulsively. A person who practices mindfulness learns to recognize suffering before it develops in a harmful behavior. This simple awareness creates profound transformation. The mind becomes clearer. Relationships become healthier. Decisions become wiser. Compassion becomes stronger. Although challenges continue to arise, they no longer dominate the heart. Like waves on the surface of the ocean, experiences come and go while the depths remain calm. The Buddha's life demonstrates the highest expression of this truth. His awareness remained continuous and complete. Because his wisdom illuminated every corner of the mind, no hidden defilement remained. Mara could not find even the smallest opening. Therefore, the Buddha became truly trackless. His freedom could not be measured. His peace could not be disturbed. His compassion could not be exhausted. As we reflect upon this magnificent example, let us renew our commitment to practice. Let us cultivate mindfulness in daily life. Let us speak with kindness. Let us act with compassion. Let us develop wisdom through careful observation. Let us walk patiently upon the noble path. Step by step, moment by moment, we can reduce suffering and increase peace. Step by step, moment by moment, we can move closer to the freedom praised in this sacred verse. Though the journey may be long, every sincere effort bears fruit. Every wholesome thought brings benefit. Every act of generosity brings benefit. Every moment of awareness brings benefit. Thus the Dharma becomes a light guiding us through the uncertainties of life toward the unshakable peace discovered by the Buddha. Nama Amitabha, blessed to all. I hope to bring this merit towards all disciples and sentient beings, all of whom will attain Buddhahood. Please click like, share, and subscribe to help me grow my YouTube channel. Thanks you for watching my video.